stuck there like it's too small and I kind of want to do something bigger than that?
There are plenty of things out there you can do. There's a great organization called Texas Humane Legislation Network, and that's a group that we work with to change laws at the state level. So we're lobbying in Austin on how to get stricter laws around animals. The shark fin bill, we are part of that. The horse meat bill is something we're working on. So everybody knows about the horse meat bill? Anybody? So, you know, it's against the law to sell horse meat in Texas for consumption in Texas, but it's the #1 slaughter of horses for consumption. We actually kill more horses for slaughter and send it to other countries in the state of Texas than any other state in the United States. So I don't know about you, but I want my meat to not be horse. I don't know that I like horse that much. And I think that it's really important for us to realize that those are the laws that we have to impact. I mean, it's the meat that somebody buys in Canada for fast food restaurants. There's a lot more that you can do than just the local. And I think I admire anybody who's doing anything, even if it's finding a dog on the street and reuniting it with its owner instead of having to go to the shelter. But there's always so much more even I feel like it. So the one thing I would tell you with that is there's something called compassion fatigue, and that's when we work so hard and try to do so many things that there's just complete burnout. You see it across the rescue world all the time. You see it from shelter workers all the time. But the compassion fatigue is something that is real and actually is a medical condition. So just watch what you do, that you're not overdoing it to a point that you're burnt out and can't do anymore.
And what degree do you think is most helpful to go into some field working with animals like this? What degree would be best?
So, I mean, there's a few. Nutrition is one. I mean, a lot of people don't realize that you can actually do a lot with nutrition with animals these days, nutritionists, things like that. If you wanted to go into something political, I would say you need to get a law degree. Laws are changing for animals. 20 years ago, you didn't see any attorneys that existed for animal rights or welfare. And now you see schools popping up that are specific to animal welfare rights and laws. Sociology, when you stop and look at the social side of animals, what happens in abusive situations, that impacts animals as well. Same with drug or alcohol. There are so many avenues that you can go with any type of degree as it relates to animals and their well-being and welfare.
Could you tell me what's happening about the landfills in District 8?
That's landfills across the city. All animals that are euthanized at the shelter. So the shelter is in District 8, so west. So 100% of the animals that are euthanized go into landfills in District 8 as well. District 8 doesn't pay for all of that. The whole city of Dallas pays for it. But the fact of the matter is that when you look at the number of animals that are euthanized on an annual basis and then equate that with poundage, we're looking roughly at about 175 to 200,000 pounds of carcass that is in a landfill annually. So it's a lot.
I have a question.
What?
About how many lost dogs get reunited with their families?
So the number from the shelter is that we reunite about roughly 19% of the animals that come in through the shelter. So that's because they've had a microchip, they had tags on, or the owner came and looked for them and found them there. But one of the things I find most interesting is if you stopped and looked at the social side of how animals are reunited before going to the shelter. Pages like Fido Friendly Oak Cliff, which is one of the pages that I manage, has like 4,000 people all in Oak Cliff, that if their animals get loose or they found an animal, we post on there. And we see that probably on any given weekend we have about 40 posts of lost or found dogs. And I would say roughly we see about a 60% reunite rate. So the physical number for the city is different than the real number of the community.
Back to the other, like Kid Springs has the ducks. Do they have like a permit or something? To
So those are city ducks. They're owned by the city. So actually, if somebody did something to them, they could get in a lot of trouble for destroying city property. But they don't have to have a permit with that. And fowl is kind of an interesting law. So fowl being chickens, roosters, turkeys, things like that. It's not against the law to own ducks or geese, which are really mean. It's not against the law. It is, the only thing that's against the law is to own a rooster in the city limits of Dallas. You can't own a rooster. And typically when we see roosters come into the shelter, we have a place that we can send them outside of East Texas. That's a rooster refugee, or refuge, I guess. It's nothing but a bunch of roosters.
There's rehabilitation.
But it's funny, we had a platypus come into the shelter a couple weeks ago. Yeah, some of the things, we've had hogs, we've seen pigs, we had an eagle. It's really interesting to see what comes through. A lot of hamsters. Tell your friend they're on him.
What about giraffes?
So giraffes typically, no, we've never seen a giraffe. It's an exotic, so exotic animals are typically handled by the zoo. So we do have a good partnership. The zoo is owned by the city, but it's privatized, so it's an asset to the city. And it belongs to the city, but it's ran by somebody else. So we've got a really great relationship with them. So if we come across any exotics, which we have, again, we had the bust of the 100,000 animals, and there were some spider monkeys and things in there. And the zoo really helped us out on that. Same with the poisonous snakes and things that were there, because they know how to handle those. I'm not going to be a commissioner handling rattlesnakes. I'm just not going to.
Not your deal. Well, guys, we need to say thank you, right? Give them a hand. Yeah, thank you so much.
You guys can really make a big difference, so do please. I'll leave you with this too. These are the animal cruelty laws for Texas. So just, this is what the state says is not acceptable. So.